Okay, my name is Tommy Doe. Good evening, everyone. Many of you have probably grown up being told that guns can only do harm to you. Still to this day, many of you probably think that same way. But after so many years, it's been just instilled into you already, but it can all be broken in just a heartbeat. Someone comes into your house, takes hostage your family, and you feel helpless. You can't do anything about it. And that's when you realize that if you had a firearm or anything, you would be able to stop everything that's happening. This leads me to my claim that the gun control laws fail to increase public safety. These laws take away and ban some firearms from being sold to citizens, and these are the firearms that could be used to protect ourselves and our family members. And there are two reasons to why the gun control laws fail to increase public safety. The first being that less guns has resulted in a greater rate of crime, murder. The FBI's Uniform Crime Report shows that in the past 2 decades, the following crimes are at near highs or at their highest points right now because of violent crimes, rape, robbery, assault, and property crimes are all at their highest right now. I follow by stating that primarily within these 2 decades, more gun control laws have been made and stricter measures are being taken to enforce them. And that relationship between the FBI's crime report shows that gun control laws have little effect and even the adverse effect of increasing crime rates because there are less guns around. The small amount of citizens owning weapons is likely to lead to hike in crime rates. Another instance where there is a more controlled field is in the crime rates of these states individually. The same FBI crime reports prove that there's a significant relationship between these guns and the rate of murders and other crimes. On average, the states requiring permits for guns have 81% more violent crimes than in the states that have little to none or not requiring permits at all for gun ownership. And the murder rates for states that completely ban concealed weapons are 127% more than the ones that don't require the permits or have little laws on banning them. These statistics clearly show that contrast between the states accordingly to their gun restrictions, higher murder rates for more gun restrictions and lower murder rates for less gun restrictions. The U.S. Department of Justice conducted an interview about 20,000 incarcerated felons in 10 different states. 74% of them said that they would avoid a house when there are people home because they fear people in the house shooting them back. 37% have been scared off by a victim with a gun. 83% said that they could illegally obtain a gun. These criminals feel more comfortable committing their crimes knowing that their citizens are unarmed due to these gun control laws. Banning firearms is not the answer and doesn't make guns disappear, only harder to legally obtain. It makes these law-abiding citizens unable to obtain these guns, but the fact is that the guns are still out there and that the criminals are able to illegally obtain them and still use them. One example, my next reason is that banning guns is nearly the same as taking away our best choice for self-defense. It's taking away our self-defense protection, and it's not in our best interest. One example is given by gun rights activist Ted Nugent of the Board of Directors of the National Rifles Association, and he reports that Dr. Suzanne Hupp was stripped before entering a restaurant of her weapons, and in that restaurant later on a massacre occurred. 20 people died and 23 others were injured, which she clearly could have stopped them if she had that firearm there, but it just gave the killer more of an advantage because she was unarmed. Not only do these guns scare off the attackers, but they can stop them from harming other people and saving lives. This example clearly shows how ineffective the gun control laws can stop law-abiding citizens from using a firearm, but it cannot stop a maniac killer on the loose from using weapons on these innocent people. Ultimately, gun control laws fail to increase public safety, and it's a very important issue, and it involves many lives, and I hope that you can all share the same perspective as me.
All right, well, the topic's identified. You have a very clearly stated claim. You start to structure the outline, but you really only just give us the first point, and then you go right into your argument. Later on, there are some additional supporting points, but I don't know how many of them there are. They're not numerically signposted, and I pick them out once in a while, and you need to help the listeners a lot more as a speaker by giving an easier structure to follow. You've got some interesting evidence in the argument. The state-by-state comparison by the FBI is an interesting point. There is one place where it does seem to suggest that there's a relationship between the amount of guns and the amount of violence, but it was not clear if that was the conclusion of the FBI or that was your inference based on the statistics that they were presenting, and that needed to be a lot clearer. The example of Dr. Huff, we need a little bit more context on that. Ted Nugent, I'm sure, would appreciate being referred to as Ted Nugget. You know, that's a little odd. You know, you had a good clear exit line, so we knew that the speech was done. I think you could use a little bit more summary in the presentation. Okay, thank you.